Welcome back to the tasting room. I have a renowned chef, cookbook author. Kind of, I would say you were on the forefront of the burgeoning food scene in Tulsa, Oklahoma. What am I missing out? Father.
Yeah.
Avid, what?
Well, community involvement. I mean,
There
we do
it
a lot
is.
with charities and stuff like that. I don't know, crazy risk taker.
There it is.
I'm getting ready to open my 13th restaurant in 19 years.
Man.
So yeah, it's been kind of crazy.
Chef Justin Thompson.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. Thanks for coming in.
here.
We'll get to what you brought, which is some interesting stuff. A couple of which I've had, a couple of which I didn't even know existed.
Yeah.
But how are you, man? Just overall.
I'll be honest, today's been a bit of a stressful day, but good. I can't
Yep.
complain. Like I said, we're getting ready to open this restaurant, and we've got today's the first 11 days till our opening party. We're doing a wine dinner for about 40, 50 people, friends and family.
I'll be there with
in
Amber and
11 days.
Curtis.
So it's kind of a, it's just last minute stuff. We're finishing up construction. Training with the kitchen staff started yesterday, which means they're in there today, kind of setting everything up and organizing, cleaning, getting the whole physical plant ready to go. And we're still finishing up some painting and staining and metal work and just last minute stuff. And it's always comes down to about this point. And this is the point where I say, did I make the right choice in my career or what?
I was going to ask, is this, we'll talk about the specifics of the new venture in a second, but overall in opening a new place and doing build out and all that, is that last month, 2 weeks to a month, always just that question to yourself?
No, no, not exactly. I joke. I mean, I
of
know
course.
I'm doing the right thing with my career and my life. I mean, it gets to this point toward the very end where you've been working at it for so long, and we've been doing construction for about 3.5, 4 months now. But this is a concept that Derek, my director of restaurant operations, and I first talked about doing this a year and a half ago. So this is something that's been in the works for a long, long time, and it's also, I feel like the pressure on this one is a little bit higher than most I've done in the past because, I started my career on Brookside. I got my first chance to open, Chow on Brookside and built up a little bit of a reputation there. And then, of course, opening the Brasserie in Sonoma on Brookside. And when I left about 10 and a half, almost 11 years ago to open Juniper downtown, I left a part of town that I, had a lot of gratitude towards people that frequent those businesses. And I want to make sure that this restaurant that we're opening is going to exceed expectations and is going to be a great, benefit to both Center One and Brookside and the people that live in that area. And so, the pressure on this one's a little bit more than normal because I'm putting more pressure on myself. I really want this to be a successful venture, not only for my team who's worked so hard on this, our chef, sous chef, GM, I mean, they're just incredible. They've worked so hard on kind of doing the last minute, like the training and all the, developing the recipes with myself and with Miles, my corporate chef. And it's just, I just want to do well by them. And, being the guy in charge, kind of view it as my responsibility to be there for them and be, support for them and make sure that, I'm doing my job well so that they can do their job well.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny. I've said it before, but I had a boss that told me that he fired all of his bosses, so he became the boss. And they didn't have a boss.
No one else to fire.
Well, when I opened Juniper, I quickly realized that wasn't the case at all for me. I went from having one boss to having 25. I mean, I feel like it's my responsibility to my employees to make sure that, if I fuck up, pardon me, but if I fuck up, I've got at this point 95 people that work for me, and when we opened Freya, about 120 people that work for me, and
That's a lot, man.
I have to make sure that I'm doing my stuff right, and that I'm taking care of myself, and that I'm doing everything I need to do, which when building out is quite a bit. I mean, you know me, you've known me for years. Like every single restaurant that I've opened, I've physically built something, or if not something, most of it myself.
Right.
So it's balancing all of that, making sure I'm still checking in with my other GMs and chefs at the other restaurants and at the bakery, and making sure that they're still supported and I don't drop the ball there. And it's a lot of pressure right now. And a few weeks from now, I'll exhale a little bit more deeply than I have been in the past month. But it's just it's part of it, but it's exciting. It's
is
fun.
it something where it's so stressful and pressure filled in the moment, and then after you exhale, you almost want to go through it again? Like you enjoy it so much.
Well, I'm going to go through it again.
Of course.
I mean, we're doing another one this year.
Oh, so you already know. Okay. There it is.
We're opening another one either in December or in January of next year.
Can you give us any
sure we can talk
tidbits
about
on
it.
that? Okay, cool.
Yeah,
cool.
I mean, I've signed a letter of intent. We haven't signed the final lease yet, but it's a space downtown. And
Awesome.
The concept I'm really excited about. It's a Southern restaurant,
Ooh.
and I'm going to call it Isla's Kitchen after my daughter. So
Yeah.
it's
That's going to be really
it's
cool.
a fun, casual, like, you know, let's have a good time when we go out to dinner.
I love that.
So, you know, I'm kind of known as more fine dining, higher end restaurants, and you know, I love what we do. I love the kind of food that we do and the kind of hospitality that we do. And I also, but let's be frank, I mean, I like a plate of biscuits and gravy, and I like some shrimp and grits too. I mean, come on,
yeah.
like
Yeah.
it's another side of me that I don't think people see a whole lot of.
Yeah.
At least professionally, and you know, we're gonna have fun with
Yeah, I
it.
was gonna say I've been lucky enough to like either eat at your house or at Amber and Curtis's when you cook. I've seen that side of you where it's the more laid back, like I'm gonna cook what I want to eat.
Right.
So I'm excited for the rest of the city and area and state and whatever to see that. That'll be really cool. I want to cheers you about Freya. You brought a few different options, all non-alcoholic, which I think is really cool. Lisa Becklin from Farm Bar and Living Kitchen and all that. She brought a bunch of NA stuff too. She doesn't drink as well. So is there one that you want to start with that you want to open?
No, not necessarily. I mean, they're all delicious. They're all great. If you
I'm
want
just
to
gonna.
start with
The
beer,
blue
if you want
one
to start
caught my eye, so I'm picking it.
Yeah, go for it. That's the Riesling, I believe.
Oh, it is. How do you say it? Is it Lights?
I think it's Leitz.
Leitz.
I could be
Okay.
wrong,
Okay.
but it's German. So,
Yeah.
you know, while I've got a little bit of German in me, not enough to speak appropriately.
So as I pour this, you've mentioned Freya a couple times. I said the name. I have so many questions about this because
Go for it.
right. It's just it's.
I'm sure the
fascinating.
first question is, what the fuck are you doing?
It's fascinating to me because a question I ask every guest, and this is what season? This is like the 20-something episode. Has been like, what's next for Tulsa? What pushes the boundaries for cuisine? What's somewhere we haven't ventured into? Nordic cuisine fits that bill 100%.
Sure.
Where did you get the inspiration or the genesis to create that kind of a restaurant? And as you answer, I'll pour this.
Well, as you know, this one came out because Derek and I were talking about different concepts that we wanted to explore, and he had an idea for a different concept that he had created, but we talked about that one, and I don't want to give that one away in case he wants to do it later on in his career. But we were talking about different styles of food, styles of eating, and we're actually talking about the Tulsa the Tulsa community, the food scene in Tulsa. We're thinking, you know, what's missing or what's something new and different that we could do, and the most important thing is what are we going to be passionate about? What are we going to actually be excited about? You know, and we have representation of a lot of different styles of food in Tulsa, and you know, I think we have overexposure on some styles of food, but you know, that's just the way it is. But it seemed like, you know, Northern European, Scandinavia was underrepresented. I still think a lot of African cuisine is underrepresented.
I love African
I'd love to
cuisine.
see an Ethiopian restaurant in Tulsa do really well. I also think even, you know, Spanish food, and to some extent, you know, they're just
Now there's Basque, but that's about it.
right, and they're doing a hell of a job.
I love that place.
And I have a lot of respect for that chef and what he's doing. Andrew's awesome, but I still think there are plenty of other opportunities for new styles of food in Tulsa, and I think that the average consumer in Tulsa does want something different. They want to try something new. You know, if they don't like it, you know, maybe they won't come back. But at the end of the day, I think that the menu that we've created exposes people to the style of cooking and the technique of cooking that's incorporated a lot in Scandinavia.
And we're back from the phone buzz.
Yeah, dude.
Continue on, buddy. No, you're good. You're good.
Yeah,
You're good.
It's ridiculous.
That's an intense buzz.
I think it's exacerbated by the styrofoam.
The styrofoam, yeah.
Right now, hey, part of it, right?
Hey,
yeah.
Cheers, buddy.
Let's take a little drink break.
Yeah. For
That's
an NA
refreshing,
wine,
right?
it's so good.
It's just, I mean, it's just good juice.
Yeah.
But we're talking about Scandinavian cuisine, and the menu that we've developed is something that I think people are going to enjoy exploring, because you know, we're not going too crazy. We're not going with the stuff that is going to scare people off. We want to introduce them to the style of cuisine, the techniques, and bring them along. You know, it should be a comfortable experience. We don't want to scare people off. We want people to say, hey, look, you know, they're creating some cool food, and let's go try it.
Yeah.
As well as cool food, I mean, cool beverages too. I mean, our cocktail list, both alcoholic and non-alcoholic, is pretty exciting. You know, our wine list, including non-alcoholic wines, non-alcoholic beers. I mean, I think it's really cool. I'm excited to see what Tulsa thinks of it. So
I'm really interested to see the menu. It's just funny. I watch so many food shows and so many travel shows that in my mind, the first thing I think of, maybe not the first thing, but when I think of Nordic food, is fermented shark from Iceland.
Yeah.
Which I hope is not on your menu. I don't know. But I do want to try
fermented fish is one of those things that we are going to steer clear of to begin with. And it is one of those that's just, it's kind of the most extreme version of the type of food. But it also is a perfect representation of what kinds of food what kinds of cooking style they needed to incorporate. Mm-hmm. So if you think about the growing season being so much shorter the further north you go, they had to create different ways of fermenting and curing and preserving foods for longer periods of time. So it's been a lot of fun to explore all of that and to research all of that. I mean, I can't tell you how many cookbooks that we've read and we've poured through, and it's just been fun to say, oh wow, we could do something like that. We can incorporate food that's a little more comfortable for Tulsa and this cooking technique, and all of a sudden we've got a very cool representation of a Finnish dish or a Norwegian dish. And I don't know that we're going to be 100% authentic down to every single spice and herb and everything, but we're getting real damn close. And some of the dishes are, I mean, it's just been fun. It's been a fun process. And I really think that when people give it a shot, they're going to say, wow, this is the way that I want to eat. There's a lot of it's a lot more clean eating. It's all fresh produce. It's all fresh, and
I love that.
When there's no fresh produce, it's fermented or it's preserved, and that's the kind of style of cuisine. Yeah. We're going with a whole lot of seafood, lighter dishes in the summer and the springtime, and then fall and winter. Yeah, we're gonna have things like elk, venison, reindeer, even. I mean, all kinds of different.
I love pushing the boundaries and getting outside of my personal comfort zone. I mean, I try not to have a comfort zone. How long did it take you to come up with that menu? If you count research time and all of that as well.
Let's see. I think I wrote the initial menu last October and November, and since then it's been tweaked several times. And I think the R&D portion, our chef and sous chef and Miles and myself, I would say about 2 months of cooking these dishes multiple times over and over again. And I got to say, our chef, Tiffany Taylor, and our sous chef, Kelsey M., are just super talented and very hardworking. And I'm excited to see what they do. And it's kind of fun for me right now in this position. I don't really consider myself much of a chef anymore. I mean, I love to cook. Yeah. But as much as I love cooking, I love creating new businesses and creating new concepts. And I love creating new jobs. Like, it's fun for me. The most exciting part of opening this restaurant to me is that I get to give 25, 30 people a job that that's really cool. Hopefully love and enjoy, and, bring them into the company and really, see them thrive. And hopefully they use that experience to benefit their career and grow more. And, I feel like it's our job as managers to make sure that when people work for us, they leave us better than when they started. And so that's always exciting to me when I create a new restaurant or business, is, giving people the opportunity to make money, provide for their families.
Do you work education, like an education program, into anything that you open, or is it just part of?
Right. Well, so there's always training. There's always lots of educational components to our training. But in addition to that, all of my managers have a continuing education allowance. They have to spend a certain amount of money every year of the company's money to get better at what they do. And I don't care if they use that for cookbooks or for a seminar or class, or it doesn't matter to me. What matters to me is that they're going to use some money to get better and better, so that when they do leave, because let's be frank, it's a restaurant business. People, some people are there for a long time. Some people, it's they're in and out. And I want to make sure, again, that wherever they go next in their career, whether it's working for somebody else or working for themselves, they end up better and have more knowledge and more experience than when they came in. I mean, a huge responsibility, I think, on me and my company is, I don't want people to come work for me just so I can take advantage of their labor and, make money off of their hard work.
Right.
I want them to be better too. I would love to see my people, my people that work for me go on and, improve in their careers and go further and do more. Cause, I'm not the end all be all chef in Tulsa. Like I'm not even in the top echelon anymore as far as like being a chef. Like there are so many people out there right now in Tulsa that are creating amazing food, really cool stuff.
That's a valid point. Yeah.
And I'm the guy that's, building businesses to help those people do what they do well and shine.
So do you view yourself now more as an entrepreneur than a chef? Entrepreneur in the restaurant world.
I view myself as pretty tired these days, actually.
Fair enough. Yeah. I think a lot of people can relate to that. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't know. Maybe entrepreneur, maybe not. I mean,
it sounds like it. What you enjoy right now in this season of your life is, I say in the restaurant world because when I say opening businesses, it's restaurants, but opening businesses and providing places for education and for growth and for, giving people work. I mean, that sounds to me like an entrepreneur.
Yeah. I mean, I guess that there's a little bit of that streak in me. I mean, I want to take chances. I want to try new things. I want to create more. And, it's funny you mentioned that. In addition to building out new restaurants, a friend of mine and I are going to start building residential homes pretty soon.
That's awesome.
Just because, he and I have become friends over the past few years. He helped me do the remodel at Prime and helped me out with the bakery and my office. And his name's Stan Roper and has his own remodeling and paint company.
Sure.
And we were talking about a year ago or so, and we were talking about one of his dreams is to build, homes for people. And my granddad and my uncle, that's how they, spent their time in their career. They built homes in Oklahoma City. And I remember going into some of those job sites and just being in awe that, you take sticks of wood and you take sheets of drywall, and next thing you know, you have a place that keeps a family safe and is a home. That's cool.
Do you know much about that world? About building homes and that sort of thing?
I'm learning.
Fair.
I mean, building restaurants, it's not that different, I don't think, than building homes.
That's a good point. Yeah.
But Stan's built plenty in the past, and so I'm obviously relying on him to do the GC work. And I'm gonna contribute when it comes to some decor stuff and the fun stuff that I've been doing for the restaurants for years that I love doing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would much rather at this point not limit myself to being in the restaurant world, just in the restaurant world. I want to have fun. I want to explore. I want to do more stuff. And,
do you miss the kitchen, or did you get most of that out of your system in the years where you spent in the kitchen?
Well, I mean, I kind of traded out cooking for other people for cooking for my daughter and my family and friends. So I can't.
It's a great point. Yeah.
I mean, my daughter's 8 years old. I get to cook for her. No, I don't cook for her every night. I'll be honest. I DoorDash sometimes. I take her out to dinner sometimes. Sure. I mean, I'm not like, I don't want people to think that I'm sitting there like, at home monitoring my sourdough starter, for making fresh bread every day. It's just not realistic. I'm a dad too.
Fair.
I've got her half the time. So literally half of my life is working my ass off so that the other half of my life I could spend time with my daughter and be there for her and, help raise her. And,
Here. Yeah.
And that's a trade-off that I welcomed. I mean, when she was born, I knew that I wanted to be more successful at being a father than I was at anything else in my life. And I've tried my very best. And I know I've made mistakes. I mean, I'm not perfect, but...
No, but you're a good dad. But I've been around you in Isla.
Well, so again, you asked me if I miss cooking.
That scratches the itch.
I would not trade, cooking in a restaurant for a single night being at home with my daughter.
Absolutely.
I just wouldn't.
Absolutely.
And the nights that I don't have her, you'll see me in the restaurants. I mean, but...
Do you still get on the line? Do you still do that? Or is it a bad sign? Did someone lose their job?
Funny. If someone asked me, if it was a few years ago, someone asked me at Juniper. They said, "Are you ever on the line? Do you ever cook in the restaurants anymore, in the kitchens?" And I said, "Well, it's kind of funny. If you see me cooking back there, it means I've either just fired somebody or I'm about to."
Exactly. It's a bad sign.
And I don't like that. So I haven't had to. There was a time last year in August and September where I was on the line at Juniper every night. We had a turnover in chef and brought in Miles. And there was a few weeks, about a month or so, where I was there every night and every day and rewrote the whole menu and kind of started from scratch. And I mean, that was fun.
But you're glad it was just a couple-week window, yeah.
Well, I was very fortunate. I was very fortunate to have Miles. I mean, I called him the day that this happened, and I said, well, hey, what are you doing these days? He goes, oh, not much, but my wife said I need to get back in a kitchen somewhere, so I guess I'm going to start applying. I said, well, how about you don't
Before you
apply
do
anywhere
that,
else?
yeah.
Why don't we talk? And this is a guy that, I mean, I went to grade school with this guy. We've been friends for 30 years. We met when we were, 5th grade playing football together.
That's
so
awesome.
it's somebody that his career went one direction, and he worked at casinos and hotels and had that large format experience, whereas I went the more like independent, small operation restaurants. And we got together, we talked, and he said, yeah, let's do this. And I mean, it was kind of one of the final pieces missing in my company, having somebody that I knew I could trust, somebody that saw eye to eye with me when it comes to food, flavors, seasoning, plating, overall menu design, training, teaching, coaching, like all those things just kind of fit.
Just have that right-hand man. Yeah.
And it was just like, holy shit. Like I've got Derek, who is kind of the GM's manager, and I've got Miles, who's kind of the chef's manager. And they're both people that, I mean, we're friends. We're guys that, I don't know that I ever want to run my company without them in it.
That's awesome.
I don't see a time in the future where they're not part of it. And I hope to God they feel the same way, because, working with them has just been fun. I mean, last night we were at Freya putting together table bases that just got shipped in, these big, huge, white metal, table bases. And, Derek's over there on one side, he's routering down the edges of the tables. We built our own tables, or on tabletops. He's routering down the edge of those, getting them smooth, ready to go. And Miles is putting together, the bases with me. And, I just looked around the room like, I don't want to open another restaurant without these two guys. I don't want to do anything else in my career restaurant-wise without these two guys, because they're just good people.
Yeah.
And they're people I want to be around.
That's awesome.
Kind of gotten lucky in that sense. I mean,
absolutely. But good attracts good. So, I mean, it's good. I'm happy that it worked out that way, that you feel comfortable, because, I mean, the sign of a good boss is hiring people, I'm learning this here, but, hiring people that are better than you. That's the entire goal, right?
Yeah, and it wasn't always that way with me. I mean, let's be honest. To be a good chef, you kind of have to have a healthy amount of arrogance and have
100%.
a healthy ego. And I'll tell you right now, in my 20s and in my 30s, like I was not a good leader.
And I'll see if you agree with this. Every chef that sat in that seat has said, I was also an asshole.
Absolutely.
At the very beginning.
Absolutely.
It's something you learn.
Yeah, I was
right?
completely an asshole.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you this, is that me being an asshole in my 20s and early 30s was all about my own insecurity, looking back at it now.
That's a good
It was all about me.
That's interesting. Okay.
It was all about me saying, I don't know that I'm really cut out for this. A little bit of imposter syndrome, a little bit of, I mean, when Tim Baker hired me to be the chef at the Brasserie, I didn't know anything about French cuisine. I knew basic food knowledge. I knew basic food technique, but, I spent months just nonstop cooking at home, at anywhere I could, poring over knowledge and trying my best to figure out what I was going to do. And when we opened the restaurant, my sous chef at the time was somebody that wanted my job. And it was that tremendous amount of insecurity on me saying, I don't know if I'm good enough for this. I don't know that I can do this. And eventually at some point I got to the point where I said, I'm not supposed to be the best at everything. I'm not. I'm supposed to be the best at bringing out the best in other people.
Exactly.
That's my job.
Exactly.
And that's my job as the owner of the company. I think it's my job to say to my managers, my staff, whatever I can do to help you do your job well, whatever I can do to get out of the way so that you can succeed is what I want to do. And as soon as I made that change in my career, everything kind of just
Did something spurn or was something the catalyst for that shift in perspective, or did it just come with maturity?
I honestly think it had to do with my daughter being born. I mean,
Gotcha.
It's not like I can, yell at a baby to do the right thing. I mean, not that you would ever do that.
That's fair enough. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
But at the end of the day,
Definition
learning
of bad
that
parenting there.
learning that patience and learning that compassion and building those techniques and building that, it just kind of became more part of who I wanted to be. And eventually, I hope it's just part of who I am now.
Yeah.
But I also, when Isla was born, I quickly realized I was not going to be in the restaurants every night. I wasn't going to sacrifice my time with her for work, for money, for success, for whatever else it was.
Yeah.
I knew that I had to make a choice, and I had to decide, what am I going to do? Am I going to be a absent, shitty dad, or am I going to try my best to be a great dad and hopefully learn new techniques to be a good boss too? And I think it's worked out somewhat okay.
For sure.
And again, I'm still learning. I mean,
Do you require work-life balance from your employees?
Yeah, I do actually.
Because that's tough in that industry.
It is tough, but I tell every manager I don't expect them to work more than 50 hours a week. If you're on salary, 50 has got to be the max, and that really is not sustainable long term anyway. I mean,
Right.
Ideally they all work 45, 50 hours a week, and I've got a chef that's been with us for about maybe 6 months now, 5-6 months, and for a while there he was putting in 60 plus hours a week, and he was at the office one day, and I said, man, I know you want to succeed. I know that you're young in your career and you want to prove yourself and you want to do everything right. But I'm telling you right now, if you keep working like this, you won't be around very long.
Burn yourself out. Yeah.
You'll burn yourself out, but also you won't be as effective. I mean, after a certain amount of time, people don't listen. You don't communicate well. You're not. It's not worth it.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that we've got a big problem with in general in our society, is that people feel like to be successful, you have to work more than what is reasonable to do so. And I mean, I say this knowing I've worked 70-hour work weeks. I've worked, 40-hour work weeks. And I can tell you that the most effective I've ever been is the point where my communication is not affected by the amount of work that I've done. It's that breakdown. Once you hit 50 hours plus, you don't communicate as well. You don't communicate as effectively. You're not as patient. You're not as willing to work through problems with other people. You become more dictatorial and more, do this, do that.
You're tired, right? I mean,
it's not. And I find myself getting that way every once in a while. Like over the past few weeks opening Freya, every once in a while it's felt that way. And this morning was definitely one of those mornings where I knew that I wasn't who I want to be. And that's something that happens, I think, when you stretch yourself too thin. You can't be the person you want to be. You end up being,
But I love that sign. I love that sign of maturity where like you can now recognize it, right? Where it's not just who you are, and like you have that self-realization because you've worked on it, to get to the point where it doesn't happen. Where when it does, you're like, "Ooh, shit!" Like,
right.
Yeah.
Well, I think you have to evaluate what works and what doesn't work in any instance, including your own self, your own well-being, mental health. I mean, you can't just keep going nonstop and expect to have the same level of output or the same outcome. It's just not reasonable.
Let's jump in the Wayback Machine. What got you in the kitchen to begin with? Like what started your journey? What started your interest in cooking?
I mean, it was after my parents got divorced, and I didn't have a great relationship with my dad, and so one day after school I was over at his house and I told him I wanted to cook dinner, and I pulled out this old Junior League cookbook that my mom had, this spiral bound kind of thing, and I said I think I want to make us dinner, and he I tell the story in my cookbook, I think a little better than what I'm rambling right now, but I ended up cooking dinner for us. We did it together, and I can't tell you if it was even edible. Like, I have no idea. I know what we made, but I can't tell you if it was good or bad. We made chicken marsala with angel hair pasta and some sauteed portobello mushrooms.
I love that's the first dinner you cooked. It's like, talk about jumping into the deep end.
That's the first recipe in the cookbook too. That's my that's how it started. It's just and every Wednesday after that we cooked together, and some days we cooked, some days we did. learning new things. And sometime in college, I went to college and studied zoology and philosophy. And, you know, I was pre-med. I thought I was going to be a doctor like my dad. And at some point in college, I realized that I get more enjoyment out of cooking than I did out of, you know, anything else I was doing in school. So I went to college for 4 years, and after 160 some odd credit hours and no degree, I thought, I'm just going to go cook.
Yeah.
So I did, and got a job at the Polo Grill. And, you know, throughout college, I worked in different restaurants. I worked at Outback Steakhouse, and I was an assistant kitchen manager at Charleston's my senior year of college. And, you know, I did plenty of the work. Every job I've had, except for one, has been in a kitchen.
Yeah.
So at some point, I think it was my last year of college, I just decided, okay, well, I'm gonna figure out if I can make a career out of this cooking thing, see if it works out.
It's really interesting. I don't know how to phrase this question without it sounding weird, but I hope you know where I'm going with it. As I hear the genesis stories from a lot, especially of chefs in the food world, I feel like almost to a T, every person's love language outward facing is acts of service, because it's that joy you get from seeing people happy and eating your food, and not even employees. I mean, that's a whole another level of it, but the customer, right? Like that.
Yeah. I mean, it's really cool to create something out of, you know, raw products, to create something that looks and tastes and smells and feels good, you know, like it's fun. It's cool. And it's very personal. I mean, I'm putting things together using my bare hands to nourish other people, to feed people, to give them sustaining energy. Like that's cool. That's fun. And to do it in a hospitable way, you know, welcoming them into my restaurant or my home, I mean, that's fulfilling. It's fun. It's enjoyable. It's acts of service. And that's definitely how I express, you know, my love for other people, is by doing. Sure. And, you know,
it comes across in the food too, which I think is awesome.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny. I really don't think as food as being the number one priority for our restaurants at all. I think it's hospitality more than anything else.
That's
and
awesome.
I think it translates to how we view our employees and how we view ourselves as a company. We want to be hospitable to people that work for us. I mean, we are working on plenty of different benefits. We already have things like health insurance, vision, dental, paid maternity and paternity leave. We're rolling out a new PTO program for everybody in the entire company in October. I mean, it's just a lot of things. And there's a couple other restaurant groups that are doing the same thing, and I applaud them for really trying to focus in on company culture and on employee health and well-being. It's very important, I think. I mean, none of us in this entire world succeed solely on our own.
Right.
You know, we have to rely on people to help us out. We have to rely on people to support us. And even if you have this crazy idea and you're the only person that came up with it and it was your idea and that's it, you still have to have people that want to support that. You still have to have people that want to purchase your goods or purchase, you know, your ideas, and you still have to rely on other people. So I think it's paramount that we put relationships with each other, people that we work with, above everything else.
I think the more restaurant groups and owners and, you know, whatever, that adopt that mindset, it would so drastically improve and change the restaurant industry as a whole. Because if, as an employee, if you don't view a job at a restaurant as a bridge to another job or something to do, you know, when you view it as a career and then you view it that way because you're being taken care of, that'll come through when you're taking care of the customer.
Right.
Right. And so when I've talked to, I think it was Bobby Benjamin over at Lowood, who said, you know, the one thing he wants to see Tulsa continue to improve upon is that customer relationship, that service, you know, because there are places, you know, like obviously in bigger markets where, I mean, it's a career, right? It's not just a bridge job. It's not just something you do temporarily.
Well, we have plenty of people in our group that are career people, plenty of people that have been with us for years.
And I think it's because of the culture that you've established too.
Well, I mean, like I mentioned Derek. I mean, Derek and I have worked together on and off for 20 years. Ramiro, one of my chefs, he and I started working together at Chow 19 years ago. I mean, David Helmick, my chef in my catering kitchen, he and I started working together in 2006 and pretty much worked together nonstop. His wife and I have worked together since 2007. You know, there are people that have been with us for over decades, and it's invaluable to me to have them because, you know, I don't have to redo everything all the time. I don't have to retrain, reteach, and I think, you know, there are also people that I've been able to see them succeed in their own lives and their own careers. Like one of my employees just bought their first house.
That's awesome.
That's cool to me.
That's awesome.
That's really exciting.
Yeah.
Another one of my employees just treated herself to a new car for, you know, her birthday. And like, they're able to do things for themselves. They're able to, you know, to pursue their dreams and do what they want. They're able to support their families. They're able to, you know, be proud of the work that they do and be part of something more important than just punching a clock.
Yeah.
You know, the fact that we work so much with charities and nonprofits in this town allows them a chance to also give back. You know, it's just cool. I just like the culture and like the company we built. And like I said, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that it's been like that forever and that I've been, you know,
it's work
that
in
way
progress,
since
though.
the beginning.
Yeah.
It has been a nonstop growing and, you know, changing and figuring out better ways to do things and better ways to communicate, better ways to train and teach. And it's been a lot, but goddamn, it's been fun.
Do you want to try wine Stefaner or the athletic beer?
I want to try the wine Stefaner.
Okay, I'll open that as you answer this one. How difficult has the last couple of years been just in the morale, culture, company culture, you know, keeping it the way it was pre-pandemic and the way you want it to be over the last couple of years? How difficult has that been?
It's been it's been hard. I mean, you've talked to everybody about it. I'm sure it's been very difficult. But it's also been you know, we've had to figure out different ways of doing things and figure out, you know, just asking the hard questions about what's really important. And I think a lot of what we've done and changed with regard to our company culture and employee, you know, happiness and well-being has come out of the past few years. Which is not to say that we weren't that way beforehand. It's just that, you know, we just decided, me and, you know, several of my managers just decided, look, we don't know what's going to happen when the pandemic started. We have no idea what's going to happen, but, you know, we got to figure out what to do. We got to figure out, you know, how do we take care of people? How do we try and help our employees? And, you know, we had a food pantry set up for months. People could just come by the office and grab a sack of groceries if they needed
That's
to.
awesome.
We gave, you know, cash bonuses to everybody, you know, around the holidays. We did, you know, gift cards to Walmart, Target, QT for everybody, just, you know, sporadically throughout as we got a little bit of money from different programs, PPP or, you know, the EIDL loan program, you know, as we were able to get some funding, you know, the first question was, how do we make sure that our employees can get some of this, and how do we make sure that they're okay? And, you know, when we shut down for the pandemic, we had 84 employees, and when we reopened eventually when everybody came back, 80 of the 84 was
That's amazing
returned.
retention. Yeah.
I mean, we've had turnover since then, obviously,
Sure.
but yeah, we were able to keep a lot of people going, and it was just painful. Because again, everything we talked about, I want to be the guy that supports people that work for me and that is there for them and helps them out. And there were just times I didn't know what to do or how to help.
Right.
So
You're figuring it out as you go. Yeah.
and it was, yeah. So it was challenging to say the least. I mean, we came out of it okay. We, you know, I'm never going to look at my financial statement from 2020 ever again.
There's a one-time view.
I don't want to even think about it, but I think a lot of good came out of it. I think it forced us to grow quicker than we had planned to before. And I don't mean grow like just adding new restaurants. I mean grow as individuals and grow as managers and grow as just as people that you know, want to create a good company and a good culture.
Yeah.
But God, it was fucking rough, man.
Was it rough writing a cookbook?
That was fun.
That was fun.
That was taking time off of work.
There you go. What's your process? Is your process in writing something like that, similar to your process in opening a restaurant or creating a menu, or did you see similarities in the process?
Writing for me has always been something I just enjoy doing. So I actually took, I think, 4 or 5 weeks off of work to write the cookbook, and I just sat at my home with my computer and started just downloading all these memories that I had, from my experience in restaurants. And I have always enjoyed the process of writing. I've always enjoyed reading. I think just kind of my nature. I mean, right now I write, I don't know, at least 5 to 10 pages a week these days for my classes. So I'm taking, doing a master's degree in finance right now just because I want to do more, want to learn more. So, so I'm constantly writing, papers for that and, discussion posts and stuff like that. As far as the process goes, it's a lot of, hey, I'm going to dump everything from this brain onto this page and just go, and then go back and read it and say, what the hell was I thinking there? Or yeah, I kind of understand what I was trying to get across there, but that didn't work at all.
So did you do it all yourself, or did you have a ghostwriter with you that helped you kind of organize it?
Yeah. Oh no, I wrote it all
yourself.
Yeah. I had some help with the layout. I had, of course, Valerie and Evan helped me out with the layout and the photography and all that stuff. They're awesome with Wayhouse Creative.
Oh yeah.
Another guy, Jeremy Luther, helped out with the overall formatting and everything because he had done some books before too. So we've, but yeah, it was fun. I like writing. I love. It was just fun to do.
Do you have plans for a second one?
Not hardcore plans yet. I'll be honest with you. When we did the cookbook, I went back and read through it, and I thought to myself, I could have done better.
Okay.
I mean, I love what we produced. I'm very proud of it. It was a lot of fun to do. It was challenging. It was something new. It was a new thing to overcome, new thing to try, and as proud of it as I am, maybe that's just me. I'm always thinking what I could do better, what I could have done better in each situation. I think it goes for just about every time I have, argument with somebody, or I'm negotiating something, or I'm, working through a difficult situation with an employee or a problem at work or anything. I think every single time I always go back and say, I probably could have done a little better.
Sure.
But I think that should be part of any process.
I think it's healthy. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's good to look back and you don't want to get stuck in the past. You don't want to, weigh yourself down with, remorse or guilt or anything about, poor decisions you made. But if you don't look back, how the hell are you going to get better, and how are you going to
grow? Right.
So,
where can people still buy it?
Oh yeah.
Where I'll link it on the video. Is it on your website? Or
yeah.
Is it on
So
Amazon,
at JTR Group,
Okay.
JTRgroup.com, it's for sale there, and you can buy it at the restaurants too, or at the bakery. I mean,
Cool.
there are copies all over the place. So
Awesome.
Yeah.
I'll put a link up on the video here. Talk to me about purchasing a bakery. How was that?
Super fun.
I mean, yeah, I don't know how to ask what I want to ask. Like it just seems
so good. Shoot.
It just seems so right. It seems so different than some of your other ventures. So
it is,
yeah.
and when it happened, I didn't realize how different it was because the bakery is a lot more manufacturing than it is, hospitality or cooking.
Right.
It really is. At this point, I don't know. What do we make? Somewhere around, I think we process around 4,000 or 5,000 pounds of flour a week.
That's a lot.
Yeah, and we're providing, hamburger buns and hot dog buns to Gathering Place and the zoo, and we sell to all the different Reese's grocery stores, and it is way different than restaurants and very challenging. And luckily, at this point, I've got an amazing GM and pastry chef and people there that are really taking care of business and doing a great job. But when I first bought it, my motivation for buying it was that I didn't want to see it close. Tom and Rick came to me and said, "Hey, we're going to have to shut down the bakery, and you need to find somebody else to buy your bread from." And Farrell's I've been buying bread from Farrell since I worked at Polo Grill in 2002. Our bread at Chow was the Serrato bread. Our bread at the brasserie were these roasted garlic herb rolls that they made specially for us. every single restaurant that I've opened has used their bread. And so when I heard that, I thought, well, shit, I don't want to buy, bread from Benny Keith or U.S. Foods or Cisco or large, food provider like that. Like, I liked having locally made bread. And so I asked them, would you ever consider, holding off on that a little bit and see if we can't make a deal where I can come in and either, help assist get through a rough time or help with finances or even buy it from you. And at the end of the day, we came to an agreement and I took over the bakery, and that was in October of 2018. So it's been a while, and I can honestly say
time flies. I didn't realize it had been that long.
Yeah, it's been a while. I can honestly say I think we're just now. I think I'm personally just now understanding everything has to be done to make it successful. And we've tried so many different things, and there have been times where we have lost money, times where we've made a little money. It has not been if I had to go back, I'd like to tell you that I would do it all again because of the experience and because of how much I've learned. But I also know that it's taken a whole lot of effort and a lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of manpower, and a lot of not learning that I don't know that I'd do again. I mean, I hate to say that, but that's just the truth.
Sure.
I mean, honestly, I'm thrilled that I have it. I'm grateful that I get to, again, it provides jobs for 20, 25 people and, and not to mention product for, I don't know how many thousands of people in Tulsa that buy our bread. So I'm very grateful that I did what I did. It's been one of the most challenging endeavors in my career by far.
Yeah, I could imagine so. It's just so different.
You know, but again, when I bought it, I thought, no, sure, I've done restaurants well. I can do this well, no problem. That just goes back to, just not knowing what you don't know. And,
until you realize you don't know it.
And then you have to figure out how to learn it real quick.
Yeah. I'll ask you a couple big picture questions and then let you get back to Freya, because I'm sure you got some work to do over there. If you had to pinpoint a chef or two that inspired you early on and that you still draw inspiration from, who would you point to?
Oh my gosh, I don't even know. That's an interesting question. I don't know how to answer that.
Yeah,
I really don't, because I don't know that I ever looked at one chef and thought, man, I really want to do it like them. I mean, I remember watching, cooking shows, and I remember watching like Emeril Lagasse, the Galloping Gourmet, Graham Kerr, and I remember Sarah Moulton and Ming Tsai, and like all those, like, from the 90s and early
the Food Network,
the early times of Food Network.
Yeah,
I mean, that's when I really was
their heyday.
Attention. Yeah. I don't remember. I don't think I've watched hardly any cooking shows recently. I'll tell you one chef that continues to inspire me, I think, from a very far distance. Jose Andres.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
With his
Global Food Kitchen, or what's his?
So he's the one that actually takes his crew out all around the world whenever
it's
there's
like World Food Kitchen.
World Food, World right. Kitchen, something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, talk about a guy with a giant heart.
I love that guy.
I got a chance to. We went up to the Food and Wine Classic probably in 2008 or 9.
In Aspen.
Yeah. And he did a paella demonstration, and just sitting there in the tent watching him cook, I was like, man, that's a guy that is passionate about life and doing cool stuff and just having fun. And sure enough, I mean, he develops this program where they feed people. They're in Ukraine right now,
right.
and they go to areas that are affected by tsunamis and hurricanes, and it's impressive to see how one guy just decided, I want to feed people that need to be fed and do it just because I love cooking. And to create a massive company that feeds, thousands of people every day is just fucking cool, man.
Really
That's
cool.
just, so if you want to talk about something that's inspiring, and I don't even know that, I mean, I couldn't tell you what some of his famous dishes are.
Right.
I couldn't tell, all I know is that he's somebody that wants the world to be a better place and found the one thing that he could do to make a huge difference, and he's doing it. And that, I think, everyone should do.
Yeah. Next question, kind of big picture as well. When you have so many, I just love to hear people's strategy in approaching how they structure their day when they have so many different places that could use their attention. So for you, I'm sure no day is the same, but between all the different kitchens and the bakery and all this other stuff, how everybody probably thinks their fire is the hottest. So how do you structure your day? How do you determine what to spend your attention on?
Well, so my weeks are pretty set mostly these days. I mean, within a certain framework. I don't really do to-do lists for the next day. I think that's, things come up. You've got to attack things as they happen. But I'll tell you, my week usually is Monday starts off with, big picture planning with, upper management team, people like Derek and Miles and Jennifer, who's our financial controller, and talk about the issues that we've dealt with in the past week and what we see coming up. Tuesdays are always manager meetings. So we have our catering meeting, our GM meeting. We have, Miles does the chef meeting. We do the meeting out at the bakery. And so Monday and Tuesday are all just nonstop, planning for the week and setting up, getting ready to go. Wednesday and Thursday, I don't really try to plan anything at all in those days of the week until the week before. Those are my days that I keep completely open until the week before, and then I fill them with things that come up.
Yeah.
So I might, let's say we have a new menu coming out at Juniper. Then I will plan on a couple hours being at Juniper on Wednesday. And let's say, something comes up, we need to deal with employee benefits and health insurance planning, and, we need to meet with our broker. Okay. That's a Thursday thing. Those are always, last minute things that come up that are like, or some oh shit meetings like, oh, we had this person not show up for work, or this person, has had a family emergency or whatever it is. And those are the days that I kind of fill in with last minute stuff. Friday's kind of a free day. I try not to do any meetings at all because I want to spend Fridays, bouncing around to every different concept, talking to everybody, spending some time in the office, and planning for the weekend and the next week. So it's
loose structure
it's loose structure. Yeah. And with my daughter, I have her overnight every Monday and Tuesday and every other weekend. So I've got her half the time. And so Mondays and Tuesdays are pretty much office days. I'm done at 3:30, go pick her up from school or camp. Wednesdays and Thursdays, meetings during the day, and then usually bounce around at night at the restaurants. Lately, it's been working at, Freya all evening until I'm done with my stuff. I mean, we're still building a lot of things ourselves, which is fun. And the weekends, if I have my daughter, I try not to work, and I try to, I'm always available via phone or email or whenever. But when I don't have her, I, again, try to fill up the weekend with work stuff, and whether that's planning for the future or dealing with day-to-day operations, or sometimes I'm, I need to go in there and run the window and just whatever's needed. Yeah.
How often do people come up to you and tell you they miss chow?
It's still pretty often.
Yep.
It's still pretty often. Yeah. I'd say at least every week or 2 weeks, somebody said something about chow or brasserie. Those two are the kind of, people loved those restaurants.
When I first moved here in 2011, I don't remember it was a lemon something dish that I had at chow.
It was probably the ravioli, the lobster ravioli with the lemon cream sauce. Yeah.
That's exactly what it was.
Yeah.
And I remember it was
favorite.
It was one of the first places I ate when I got here, like January of 2011.
Well, at that time, Ramiro was the chef there, and he was the guy that I hired as a busboy at 19 years old when it first opened.
No kidding.
Still works for me today. At this point, he's kind of become our utility guy. I mean, he was the GM at the bakery for a while. He was the head chef at the catering, head chef at Prime. He's pretty much been, there throughout all of it. And, he's a guy that constantly wants to learn and improve and do new things. Yeah. And so every time I've got something new, I'm like, hey, you want to try this? He's like, yeah, I'll do that. Why not?
I love it.
So,
yeah, that dish though, I had it. I don't remember when did chow close? When did that go away?
I don't know. I was in 2011. I had already either opened Juniper or I just opened Duke's in South Tulsa. I opened two that one year. It was a rough year.
Sounds like a busy year. Yeah.
Yeah. So what? Yeah, I don't know when it should.
It wasn't too much longer.
It wasn't too much longer.
Yeah.
I want to say maybe 12 or 13.
Okay. It wasn't too much longer, but I still.
It was a shame when it closed. It was so much. I learned a whole lot there. A lot what not to do too there. That's for sure.
Yeah, and now nothing can stay in that spot.
Yeah, I mean, what is it? What's there now? That 3 tequilas?
I think 3 tequilas has been there for a minute.
For
so
few years, so. Yeah, but it was just one of those. We got lucky, and it happened. It was fun. It's a great place. Same thing with the brasserie.
No kidding. Well, I'll let you get back to work. Let's run through your list of places in the JTR group where people can go eat your food.
So Juniper is kind of that's the one that I had
such a good spot. Yeah,
it was the first one that I had any ownership in, and it was it's downtown 3rd and Elgin, Prime Steakhouse. It'll be 10 years old this year.
No kidding! Congrats, that's awesome.
Juniper will be 11 years old in October, and Prime will be 10 years old in November.
That's awesome.
That's great. Yeah, time does fly.
Yeah.
Prime Steakhouse downtown, and then the bakery Farrell out at 81st and Yale. We've got a spot over at Mother Market too. And then we've got our catering company, and we're so busy right now with caterings. It's insane. In the month of May, we had something like 90 individual caterings.
Are you serious?
31, yeah.
Oh my God.
Insane.
That's incredible.
So catering, and then the new one, Freya.
Yeah.
And then 6 months from now, another one, and a year after that, another one, and a year after that, another one. So,
do you have plans on capping your number of ventures at some point, or is it just
I don't know. I mean, do you really want to put a limit on having fun?
Probably not, right?
I don't think. I mean,
just keep it going.
Obviously, I want to make good decisions, and I want to be careful. I don't want to overextend ourselves, and I don't want to.
Yeah.
I don't want things to suffer because I'm planning and opening new restaurants. Who knows? I might be looking at hiring a CEO to take over day-to-day operations, so I can go build and have fun and come up with new concepts. And who knows? Maybe that's in the near future.
Sounds like a logical next. Maybe not next step, but step down the road.
I honestly think within the next year, I probably should have somebody that takes over day-to-day operations, because I know that I'm not the absolute best when it comes to day-to-day organizing, structuring. I'm much more on the creative side. And I'm still keep things pretty much running the way they should, but I know they could be better, and I know there's somebody out there that's much better at that than I am. So why not let them succeed at it?
Fair enough.
I'll do what I'm good at.
I did realize I left in my long intro of all the things you've done. I left out podcast
Oh yeah,
host.
the podcast. Yeah, that was fun.
So
yeah, Malachi and I, a friend of mine, Malachi Grossi, and I, we started talking last fall. That, I think it was at a time where I thought I've got some things to say that probably people don't know, and I did it because I think that there are people out there that would like to know more about the business and more about me. And so we did this podcast. There's 10 episodes, and surprisingly, there's very little about food and cooking. There's more about business, more about. I mean, we talk about mental health. We talk about community. We talk about things that are a little more important than food on a plate.
Absolutely.
So. Yeah, it was fun to do. I don't know if we'll do more of it or not.
Yeah, I was going to ask, are you done with it?
I don't know. I mean, it's one of those things that
you're good on the mic.
Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's one of those things I enjoy doing. I don't know. I think I still have some stuff to say. I just don't know when I want to say it. I really do want to see. I do want to be part of making a better city and a better community. And I think I've done that to a certain extent with my businesses, but I think there's more that we could do for the people that live here in Tulsa.
Yeah.
And I want to be a part of that. I'm just not sure how and in what way. And so we'll see what comes up.
Yeah. Where can people find the 10 that you did?
Oh, well, you can go to our website. They're on there, but they're also on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. I mean, it's everywhere. It's
gotcha. What's it called?
Trial and Error, named after the cookbook.
Yeah.
Which again, I kind of think is emblematic of my career. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've tried something and screwed up and thought, well, better figure out how to do that the right way.
Yeah.
But never really been afraid of screwing up or taking risk. It's just, I kind of view it as part of learning. I mean, I was actually writing one of my papers the other night, sitting at the kitchen table, and Isla walked up and she said, "What are you doing?" I told her I'm doing my homework, and she says, "Well, what happens if you don't get it right? What happens if you fail? Are they going to kick you out?" Like, honey, no. Failing is not a bad thing. Failing is how you learn. I mean, failing is a product of trying to do something. You know, you're not going to be successful at everything, and frankly, you shouldn't be punished by failing. I think our educational system needs an overhaul in that regard, and that, you know, kids should not be afraid to get an F or a D. You know, they shouldn't be afraid to fail. They should be afraid of not learning how to learn and how to teach themselves, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I think you should keep
trying and keep doing it.
You should keep doing the podcast.
Thanks.
Yeah. I think there should be, and there is an appetite for that kind of content. You know,
I hope so.
It's what helps the community grow.
I hope so.
You know?
And, you know, it's funny. It's been listened to by people in New Zealand and
Isn't that funny when you see the analytics? You're like,
how the hell are these people? Why are okay? Great.
Our second highest played country is Australia.
That's funny to
And
me.
it's like, are you serious? Australia?
That's funny.
Yeah.
But hey, it's great. It's fun to see that somebody I've never met, probably never will meet, has heard something I've said, and maybe it's good for them. Hopefully
Absolutely.
it is. We'll see.
Well, man, I'm excited for Freya. Do you know, I'm sure you do, your hours and all that stuff to tell people?
Right. So we're going to be open lunch and dinner and brunch on the weekends. So we'll be open lunch Tuesday through Friday, 11 to 2. Brunch on Saturday and Sunday from 10 to 2. And then we'll be open dinner Tuesday through Saturday starting at 4 o'clock.
Taking Mondays off.
Yep. Mondays will be closed, and then Sunday night we're closed.
Sunday night,
so,
yeah.
But we've got some pretty cool stuff. Our general manager, Ashlyn, has come up with some pretty cool ideas for some Sunday afternoon programming, some kind of workshops and some artist feature stuff. And it's going to be pretty cool. We've also got something we're going to do in the afternoon called Fika, which is it's afternoon coffee. It's something that people do in all over Scandinavia. They just do this afternoon coffee and treats. It's kind of like the British version of afternoon tea.
I love that. Yeah.
But it's called Fika, and we'll be doing it from 2 to 4. We'll have like a little chef treat, savory or sweet, and we'll do some coffee or coffee beverages.
Be there every day. That's
it's
awesome.
just an afternoon. Yeah. It really is supposed to be 20, 30 minutes of just taking a break in your day and being able to relax. I mean, there's a word, hygge, which is spelled Hygge. That means it's a Danish word that means a sense of well-being, and it's something that we're trying to impart upon people that come into Freya. And Fika is a very, very much a hygge thing to do. It's very much like take a break from your crazy work day, relax, get a cup of coffee, a little bit of energy, something to nourish you, and get about your day and end it on a good note.
I love that.
So
I lied. I'm going to ask you one more question.
Go for
Of
it.
the opening menu, what are you most excited? One dish that you're most excited for people to try?
Let's see here. The dish that most people should try. Man, the elk is going to be awesome. But I think we're doing a seared halibut with a savory Dutch baby. That is awesome.
Okay.
There's that. Also the smørrebrød. So smørrebrød is open-faced sandwiches.
Okay.
So they're a dark Danish rye that's filled with seeds and nuts, buttered, toasted, and then topped with various different toppings. And we have 7 or 8 different kinds that we have. One is like a tenderloin and asparagus. We've got one that's a beet cured gravlax with pickled radish. We've got one that's white bean pate. I mean, they're all different toppings, for these open-faced sandwiches. Those are going to be fun. I mean, you come in for lunch and order either 2 or 3 on a plate, so you can mix and match and try different ones. And it's just this light, refreshing, wholesome, good, clean food. Nothing that's going to weigh you down. Stuff that's going to propel you throughout the day and make you feel good.
Man, I'm so excited.
It's going to be fun.
Yeah.
I'm excited too. So.
Well, thanks again for coming in. I know
Thank
you're a
you
busy
for inviting
man.
me. I appreciate you very much.
Absolutely. I'll see you at Freya.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
Cheers. Thanks again to Chef Justin. That was a fun conversation. You can tell his love for the industry, but really more than just the industry, for teaching people and establishing a good culture within his JTR group and all of that. So, it's funny, that's becoming a through line, a theme with all the guests that we have sitting next to me. It's not only their love for what they do from a cooking standpoint. I think that's the genesis for all the chefs, at least, but it's, establishing a working environment that they're proud of. And I think that's been a really cool thing to see. On that note, the next episode will be a good friend of mine, Josh Royal. He is one of the owners of Roosevelt's and R Bar here in Oklahoma City. He's also a partner in what is now, I think, New York Bagel Company. I'll have to ask the proper name, the former Old School Bagel Company. And then he has Hemingway's down in Oklahoma City. So that'll be a fun conversation. Who knows where that'll go? I've known him. He was one of the first friends I made when I moved here to Tulsa back in 2011. So that, I promise you, will be a very interesting episode of The Tasting Room. I'll see you then.